Hey everybody, it is Professor Parrish and welcome back to English 122. We're on Module 3 already. We're already into week 3. I feel like this summer flew by and I feel like this fall is going to fly by just as quickly. So as you can see on our homepage, if you scroll down to Module 3, I'm recording this on Saturday. So your Module 2 assignments, your thesis and outline, and your discussion forum, they are still due by Sunday. But let's go ahead and talk about Module 3. I know next weekend is Labor Day, so you're going to have that Monday off probably, but things will still be due Sunday as per usual. So nothing out of the ordinary, but let's click on the Module 3 guide. So for this week, we're still focusing on short story. We're looking at two different sections, point of view and character. I personally, as a reader and as a writer, I am more of a character-driven person. Like, I like if a show has a really good plot. Like, a show with a great plot is one thing. I really like it. But I can sacrifice maybe a plot being a little bit weird if the characters are really compelling. For me, I'm a character reader. I like getting into characters, their personalities, their psyche, their relationships with other characters. I just really like characters and stories. So pages 73 through 75 talk a little bit about the different types of characters, mainly between round and flat characters. And rounded characters are very three-dimensional. They have lots of qualities, they have personalities, lots of details. It's kind of like they're a well-rounded individual, correct? Whereas a flat character is more one-dimensional. Maybe they're just like a stock character or somebody in the background. We don't get a lot about their personality throughout the story. So an example might be in Harry Potter. Obviously Harry, Ron, and Hermione are all round characters because we get to know them and their personalities and their motivations. Whereas a character like Crabbe and Goyle, Malfoy's friends, we don't really get much of them in the story. So they're more flat characters, right? So the book talks about that and also about point of view. And my dog is like rolling around on the floor as I talk to you all. But point of view in a story is really important. If you're choosing the creative writing option for paper 1, it's really important that you are consistent with your point of view. So if you stick with first person, which is using like I, me, we, then you want to keep that consistent, right? Whereas if you're using third person point of view, like they, them, him, her, and actual names, then you want to keep that consistent as well. There's second person point of view, but it's not used as often because it's actually very difficult to write in because you're assuming that the reader is the character in the story, which is kind of off-putting, right? It's a little bit uncomfortable to read a story where it says, you go do this, now you're doing that, because as a reader, you're thinking, no, I'm not. So if I had to pick a really good second person writer, I would say Chuck Palahniuk. If you've ever read Fight Club or you've heard of the movie Fight Club, Chuck Palahniuk is the author of that. And so he's really good with writing. I've got a collection of his short stories because his stuff is kind of weird and off the beaten path and gritty. But he writes in second person a lot and it's very uncomfortable. But he does it so well and he's so consistent with it that you kind of become enthralled like you're the main character of the story. It's very, very interesting. So I highly recommend if you've not seen Chuck Palahniuk's work, just go look him up because it's very interesting. But pages 26 through 28 are going to talk about point of view. So make sure that you've read those sections, and obviously you're watching this video. The two assignments for this week, keep working. This is not on our assignments page, but just start working on your first paper so that you've got that draft ready to turn in. I would recommend that you can use tutoring.com, which the link is right here, but also Miss Lane, Joanna Lane, she is one of our tutors here on campus, and she is in the Learning Commons, I think 8 to noon every day during the week, but she also is able to look at your papers if you email them to her. So her email is just Joanna, Joanna, Lane, Lane, at sic.edu, and she'll be happy to look at your papers and give you some feedback. So I may email everybody Sunday night and let you know about her as a resource as well. But as you're working on your paper, feel free to have her look over your stuff. So the week 3 discussion forum is listed right here. There's a lot of short stories in our textbook. A lot. So what I want you to do is choose a story from 2 chapters between chapters 9 and chapter 14. So it can be 2 stories from anywhere between chapters 9 and 14. And I want you to answer the following questions about them. First of all, what 2 stories did you pick and why? Second, within each story, what is the best element of short story used and the least effective? So your elements are setting, plot, character, point of view, symbolism, theme, and style, or style and tone. Those get kind of interchangeable. But I want to know which element is best used and which is least effectively used and why. And then what element of fiction do you consider, after reading our chapters, to be the most important for a short story? So if you're like me, I'm a character-driven person. So for me, character is the most important. Like, a story can have a different style or point of view or a setting or whatever, but the characters have to be compelling or I'm not going to want to read the story. If characters are boring, then I'm like, what's the point? If I can't relate to them or find them intriguing, then I don't want to read the story. But I'm curious to know what your thoughts are and which element you consider to be the most important. So that is our discussion forum. It's pretty opinion-based this week. I'm really curious to hear what you all think about those stories in our textbook. And to see which of you pick the same short stories, because that does happen sometimes. The other assignment is called a reading response, and we're going to have a few of these throughout the semester. And so the reading response is just another way for us to practice writing. It's a way to practice understanding the text, the stories in our textbook, things like that. So for this reading response, you're going to read 3 short stories from our textbook. And these can be short stories you use in your discussion forum. So if you want to kill 2 birds with 1 stone, you can use some of these short stories in your discussion forum since you're already going to be reading them. And my dog is wanting attention. So I'll pet her while I'm talking to y'all. So yeah, you can use any of these stories in your discussion forum. If you want to just kill 2 birds with 1 stone, do that. But first, you're going to choose one of the stories from pages 6 through 13, which is Death Has an Appointment in Samara, The Fox and the Grapes, The Camel and His Friends. I say that these are all, I don't think they're from chapters 9 through 14, but I'll let it slide if you pick some of these to use. And then you have a second story, A Rose for Emily, and then First Year of My Life, Worn Path, Sonny's Blues, and then one of the stories from Bullet in the Brain, Where Are You Going, Where Have You Been, Cathedral. Yeah, I think you might be able in the last group to find 2 of those stories and talk about them in the discussion forum and at work. So in your reading response, you need to have a brief intro and conclusion stating which stories you picked and what you're going to be answering. And then question 1 in your reading response, you should describe the first story and what element it uses most effectively, which it uses least effectively. Second, with your second story, what is its point of view? Why do you think it was chosen for this specific section? These stories were picked for certain reasons to correspond with the terminology that they are. So Rose for Emily was chosen because of how it uses point of view. So if you pick that story, why do you think it was chosen as an example? How does it use point of view? With your third story, describe the characters and why you think it was chosen for this specific section. And then finally, which of the 3 stories do you like best and why? Which do you like least and why? So your reading responses, by the time you have an intro and conclusion, by the time you answer all 4 questions and you've double spaced it, it should be about a page long. Should be about a page. You can go over that, of course, but it should be about a page. So don't feel like you have to go into insane depth with these answers. I had a student last semester that wrote for their reading responses, they ended up being like 3 to 5 pages each. And then at the end during our course evaluations, they were like, well, I wish that the reading responses hadn't been so long. And I was like, well, they didn't have to be, but they went into a lot of depth. So you can go over a page if you want, but don't feel like you have to. Just answering those questions the best and most concisely that you can. All right. And it's worth 25 points, which your 25 points are, did you answer the 4 questions? Did you have an intro and conclusion? And did it meet the formatting guidelines? Which, like I said, I think you'll at least meet the formatting guidelines based on answering the questions alone. All right. So that is the reading response. So if you look at our modules, you can see week 3, everything's due September 5th. And then we still have, you've got a couple more weeks to work on paper 1. I like to get a slower start at the beginning of the semester and give you time to work on this first paper to just make sure it's as good as it can be and to get used to Canvas, to get used to the different types of assignments we're doing. And then after paper 1, the pace is going to pick up in the class. So if you want to work ahead, you will definitely, starting tomorrow, August 29th, be able to go ahead and work ahead on module 4 if you want to. That's totally up to you. But if you have any questions, please feel free to let me know. I'm always happy to answer questions. Just let me know about them. And in any case, let me know if you have questions about paper 1 as well. So that's it for this week, guys. If you have questions, feel free to email them to me. But in the meantime, I hope you all have a wonderful week. Please stay safe, take care, and I'll talk to you all again real soon.